A week ago, we talked about why many on both the left and the right believe that a major health event could be the big surprise of 2025 for Donald Trump. And that video generated significant interest. Many of you wrote to me about it. And based on the feedback, I want to expand on this a little and remind everybody that this is not just sort of like trivial, idle speculation nor conspiracy theory. It's simply the obvious discussion based on what we know, and Donald Trump's health may become a critical factor in his political future. Objective linguistic analysis shows measurable changes in Trump's speech over time. This is sort of the first pillar. And many studies that we've discussed before, there's the 2017 Stat News analysis, there's more recent studies we talked about, they all find the same thing, which is that Donald Trump has had a significant decline in vocabulary, sentence complexity, and sentence structure compared to the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, comparing 2024 to 2020 to 2016. It's just been downhill. Now, sometimes these changes indicate a cognitive decline. Sometimes they indicate a neurodegenerative condition. Sometimes they just have a sort of natural decline trajectory with age. Joe Biden's same metrics also declined, not as much as Trump's. They also started higher. We've explored during the campaign how Kamala Harris's speech has experienced no such decline. So a lot for Trump, some for Biden, none for Harris. That's our first pillar. The second pillar is Trump's family history. Fred Trump, Trump's father, had Alzheimer's disease. Studies find that having a first-degree family member with Alzheimer's increases your risk significantly, up to 30%, depending on genetic and environmental factors. And then that has to be considered in the context of Donald Trump's noticeable linguistic decline. Trump will be 78 on Inauguration Day next week. He falls squarely within that age range where these risks are more pronounced. The third pillar is Trump's known health issues. Trump's clinically obese. Obesity increases the risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and cognitive decline, per the CDC. Trump's diet is famously heavy on fast food. It's famously low on vegetables, and that compounds those risks. Trump doesn't exercise. That's yet another risk factor. Now, I want to be thorough. I want to be objective. This is not Hillary Parkinson sort of nonsense, because there's a very important counterpoint here to all of this. You could hear me saying linguistic, obese, family history, all that stuff. But what's the counterpoint? The counterpoint is what is called the phenomenon of superagers. Trump might be what's called a superager. These are people in their 70s and 80s and beyond who maintain really good physical function and sometimes cognitive function, despite having risk factors, despite an unhealthy lifestyle, despite whatever it is that they do. Trump's ability to dominate media narratives and energize his base, despite everything else, does support the idea that Trump could be a superager. Now, even superagers are not immune to sudden health events, and especially with Trump's known risk factors, that's something that could happen. But then we get to the third and arguably the most critical part of all of this, which is about cult dynamics. If Trump did have a health crisis, it's unclear if the public would ever know, especially based on what they learned in Trump's first term when he was taken to Walter Reed with COVID in a sort of emergent setting in a helicopter. This time around, if Trump experiences a health crisis, the political cult leaders would probably see it all downplayed and concealed by the loyal followers. In Trump's White House, key figures like doctors or aides or propagandists, they would almost certainly scramble to cover it up. And even with undeniable evidence, if they were not able to cover it up, MAGA supporters are almost certainly going to refuse to acknowledge it. These are cult dynamics. The leader is often seen as infallible, regardless of any contradictory evidence. Do any of us believe that Charlie Kirk would ever come out and say, Trump's lost it cognitively, he can't do it anymore? Do any of us think that Jason Miller or Stephen Miller would say, it's over for him, this is really serious? The answer is obviously no. So this is not about rooting for Trump's health to fail. It's preparing for what statistically could become a significant factor in Donald Trump's second term, and the likelihood that the people around Trump are going to do every damn thing they can to cover it up. Now, as we've noted before, the big surprise of 2025 might be a court case, although that's seeming increasingly unlikely. It could be a political scandal, for sure. It might be Trump putting in place policy that's a disaster for his followers, as we've already talked about. But it might be the reality of aging and health. And we need to be prepared for how cults deal with the failing health of the cult leader. If you're still using a free email service, your emails are often being scanned and tracked even after you delete them. Companies use the data to know everything about you and show you ads, even your most personal communications. That's why I recommend you check out StartMail. Unlike free email services, our sponsor StartMail never scans or tracks your emails. It also blocks tracking pixels, which companies and hackers use to capture your IP address. And when you delete an email in StartMail, it is gone forever, keeping your information private. StartMail allows you to create unlimited email aliases, protecting your identity and reducing spam. This lets you use different email addresses for different purposes, like newsletters or shopping. Plus, StartMail lets you encrypt every email, even if the recipient doesn't use encryption. Switching is easy. You can migrate all your existing emails and contacts with just a few clicks. StartMail also offers a business plan with unlimited domains, advanced phishing protection, and shared aliases for seamless team collaboration. Go to startmail.com/Pacman to get 50% off your first year. That's about $2 a month for a personal plan, or about $3 a month for a business plan, plus get 25% off additional accounts for team members. The link is in the description.